The helicopter arrived expecting a body. People were already walking the field, not searching for signs of life, but deciding where she would be recovered from. A body bag had been brought along, just in case. Parachuting deaths were rare. So rare that many of those rushing toward the landing zone were thinking about another fatal jump that had happened at the same airfield years earlier. History, it seemed, was repeating itself. But when they reached her, Victoria Cilliers was still breathing. Her body was broken, spine fractured, pelvis shattered, ribs snapped, but she was alive. Against every expectation, she had survived a fall that should have killed her. What no one knew yet was that this wasn't an accident, and it wasn't the first time someone had tried to kill her. Easter weekend, April 2015. Salisbury Plain, United Kingdom. The weather had already forced one delay. Strong winds and thick cloud cover pushed the scheduled Saturday jump to Sunday. Even then, conditions weren't ideal. Instead of a standard high-altitude skydive, the group agreed on a hop and pop, a low jump from 3,000 feet, where the parachute is deployed almost immediately after exiting the aircraft. Victoria had done this thousands of times before. She was one of the most experienced skydivers at the airfield, an accelerated freefall instructor with over 2,500 successful jumps. She trained others to handle emergencies in freefall. She packed parachutes for people who trusted no one else to do it. Her gear was meticulously maintained. She had never once needed to deploy her reserve chute. That Sunday, her husband Emile was there with her. So were their 2 young children. One by one, jumpers exited the plane, parachutes opening cleanly. When it was Victoria's turn, she stepped out smiling. Seconds later, something was wrong. Her main parachute didn't deploy. She reached for her reserve. It didn't deploy either. For nearly a full minute she fell, uncontrolled, accelerating toward the ground at over 120 miles per hour. Those still in the air watched in horror. By the time they realized she hadn't deployed, they already knew what the outcome should have been. Victoria hit a freshly ploughed field. The softened earth absorbed just enough impact to prevent instant death. She was airlifted to hospital in critical condition. As rescuers gathered her equipment, they noticed something immediately unsettling. The parachute lines were tangled and knotted in ways that didn't happen naturally. Parts of the rig that should never fail under normal conditions had been deliberately damaged. There were no signs of wear, stress, or mechanical failure. Both the main and reserve parachutes had been sabotaged. This wasn't a malfunction, it was tampering. Investigators focused on one key question: who had access to the parachute before the jump? At the airfield, rigs were stored securely, but several witnesses recalled something unusual. The day before the jump, when weather forced the postponement, Victoria's husband Emile had removed her parachute from storage. Multiple people saw him take it into a bathroom and remain inside for approximately 10 minutes. When asked why he didn't leave the rig secured at the airfield, as was standard practice, there was no clear explanation. It wasn't protocol. It wasn't necessary, but it gave him privacy. Victoria and Emile had been married for 4 years. From the outside, they appeared settled. 2 children, shared hobbies, a life built around routine and work. Behind closed doors, the marriage was deteriorating. Emile was having multiple affairs. One of them was with an Austrian skydiving instructor he had met while travelling. Over a 6-month period, the two exchanged more than 32,000 messages. In those messages, Emile spoke openly about wanting a future with her, about being free after April. April was the month of the jump. At the same time, Emile was also sleeping with his ex-wife and seeking out sex workers online. His phone activity painted a picture of constant deception, overlapping relationships and compulsive behaviour. When questioned by police, he didn't deny the affairs. He framed the marriage as something he no longer wanted. Sex wasn't the only pressure point. Emile was deeply in debt, over £20,000, possibly more. Financial investigators struggled to track the movement of money between accounts. Loans, payday lenders, personal debts. It was a mess. Much of the money came from Victoria. Without her knowledge, Emile transferred funds out of her accounts, On one occasion, she discovered £6,000 missing. He claimed she'd been hacked. Bank records proved otherwise. Eventually, Victoria removed Emile as the beneficiary of her will. Her estate, worth around £120,000, was redirected to her children. It's unclear whether Emile knew this. About a week before the skydive, something else happened. One night, Emile told Victoria he wouldn't be coming home, saying he'd stay at army barracks as he often did. She went to bed alone. The next morning, she woke to a strong smell of gas. Downstairs, the gas valve was wide open. There was blood on it. When police investigated, they confirmed the blood belonged to Emile. A forensic examination showed the valve had been forcibly loosened using locking pliers found in his toolbox. The damage couldn't have been accidental. If the gas had ignited, or if the leak had continued, Victoria and the children sleeping upstairs could have died. This wasn't recklessness. It was another attempt.
Your locking pliers?
Can't remember.
What was it for?
You just asked me when's the last time I used it, and now you're asking me what
did you
for.
use it for?
And when I said I can't remember when I last used them, how can I remember what I used them for?
You might not remember when you used them, you might remember what you
I
used them
don't
for.
know.
That's what I'm asking for. Okay.
Totally, isn't it? This isn't the first interview. We're just trying to see if it was loose. You've told us today that you use mole grips, locking pliers,
Yeah.
on the nut.
Yeah.
We recovered a pair of mole grips from your toolbox locking pliers.
Okay.
There were no other similar tools.
Okay.
Okay. A forensic expert has stated in relation to the mole grips, which are exhibit NJB/5/MH/26, the mole grips locking pliers, that conclusively the locking pliers were used to forcibly grip and loosen one of the nuts on the gas fitting.
Okay.
Emile was arrested and charged with 2 counts of attempted murder. 1 for sabotaging the parachute, 1 for the gas leak. During the trial, no one testified in his defence. Evidence from his phone took 9 months to fully analyse. Messages, searches, financial records, all of it pointed to motive, opportunity, and intent. A reconstruction shown to the jury demonstrated exactly how the parachute had been tampered with. Critical components had been removed, lines deliberately altered. The jury didn't take long. Emile was convicted and sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum term of 18 years. Victoria survived. Recovery was long and painful, both physically and psychologically. She later wrote a book about the experience, how close she came to dying, and how manipulation and abuse had shaped her marriage long before the jump. She didn't fall because of a mistake. She fell because someone she trusted tried to make sure she never landed alive.